That's going to be like, I got to stop you from doing this. And in the reality of it is that impression that you have, that feeling that you have to contain the overwhelmed runner is just going to make them rebel even further. Yes, we're back at it today with another unique Dogonality, the secret sauce to the overwhelmed runner. If you've got a runner, this one's for you. Let's get into it. Ready to have a calm and peaceful life with your dog without the stress of those fear-based behaviors? Hi, I'm Tracy, and I've been there, overwhelmed by all the conflicting dog training advice and unsure of what to do next. But now I help dog lovers like you simplify your life with your dog by building confidence naturally, fostering trust, and addressing those fear-based challenges. So, if you're ready, stop chopping those chicken wieners and let's get to it. Hey there, friend. Have you ever stood there tossing cookies at your scared dog like it's going to fix everything, only to get that serious side eye? You're not alone. Because let's be real, if someone offered me a cookie to hold a spider, I'd tell them to get bent. Fear doesn't vanish with food, and it certainly doesn't make your dog feel any better about the thing that scares them. So if you really want to help your dog not only face their fear, but come out the other side feeling more confident in who they are, then you need to be inside our online program, The Fearless Framework. Inside this incredible program, you're going to learn how to connect with your fearful dog in a way that builds trust naturally, safety, and you're going to see real change. It's not a quick fix, but it's where you need to be. So check it out at beyondobedience.ca/fearless, and I'll see you there. Well, hello, my dog-loving friend. It's Tracy. Welcome back to the podcast, Beyond Obedience. I am so glad you're here. If you're new to the podcast, super duper welcome to you, my friend. I am glad that you are here. Now, listen, if you are new to this podcast, there's going to be a lot of terms and terminology I'm going to be throwing at you today. One of the things that you can do if you want to fully understand this Dogonality series that we're talking about would be to go back to the episode entitled The Secret Sauce. Okay, inside that episode, I talked about how I somehow managed to live with and not go crazy with 19 #just good dogs, all while running a business, raising kids, and the like. And so for many years, I often pondered, how did we do that? How did we do it? And we did it with, relative ease. That was the thing. It was pretty easy. So check out that episode. Then I want you to make sure that you've taken the Dogonality quiz. It's free. So it's a fun little quiz that's going to help you discover your dog's unique Dogonality. Now, when you take the quiz, I have to tell you, make sure you take the quiz as if you haven't trained your dog. Okay? Answer the questions as if you haven't trained your dog. We want to know your dog's innate quality because every Dogonality, as you'll find out today while we're talking about today's Dogonality, has their own unique, if you want to put it this way, they all have their pros and they all have their cons, and pros to one person might be a con to another. That's the funny thing about dogs, right? That's, when we're talking about dogs and the real thing here, we're talking about the bond between the human and the dog. So we need to consider both sides of it, but I digress. That's another podcast all in itself. I think sometimes we focus so much on training the dog, we forget about the people. We forget about the people. Again, another podcast. Focus, Tracy. Stay on task. Here we go. All right. So you've learned about the secret sauce. You've taken the Dogonality quiz by going to beyondobedience.ca/quiz. You've figured out your dog's Dogonality. You've listened to the other podcasts because I think it's important to know about all the different Dogonalities. Understanding and relating to different dogs and their unique Dogonalities, I think makes you a true dog lover. Maybe a little bit like me and a dog nerd. We can nerd out a little bit on this. Let's nerd out a little bit on this. Okay. So we have covered in our Dogonality profiles, we've covered the left brain dogs. Those are our thinking dogs. We've covered the left brain introverts, the thinking dogs that don't like to move their feet. And we've talked about the left brain extroverts, those life of the party dogs, our working breeds. Those are the dogs that use their mind, they're thinking dogs, and they like to move their feet. They like to have a job. They like to work and move. Last time we went down to the right brain. We talked about the right brain dogs being instinctual. These dogs are tapping into their instinctual drives, their survival drives, fear, flight, fight, avoidance, prey drive. All of that stuff happens in the right brain. And I also, as always, want to mention it's not actually the left side or the right side. We say that for simplicity's sake. For all of you that are really nerding out about dog behavior, you're like, that's not how the brain works, Tracy. I know. It's just easier to think of it this way. Besides, I mean, if I were to do the actual anatomy, it's not as fun on the quadrant to be like the amygdala. Like nobody, the lizard brain. Nobody wants that on the quiz or on the quadrant. So we're keeping it simple. Simple, simple, simple. Okay, so left brain thinking, right brain instinctual. Last time on the podcast, we talked about the right brain introverts, the dogs that get stuck in fear. They are in the freeze portion of the fear, fight, flight, avoidance, all of that good stuff, right? They're in the avoidance and they're stuck. They're frozen. Okay. Now, one could say that the Dogonality we're talking about today is the flip side of that coin. They could actually be the same dog. What do I mean by that? Because the right brain introvert is a dog that doesn't like to move their feet and they're frozen. What sometimes happens with RBIs is they get so stuck, their anxiety builds so much that they end up exploding. And then they look frantic, bolty, skittish, and the like. You've seen these dogs, the ones that are freaking out at the end of their leashes and they're flipping all over the place. That is probably, an RBI that has been pushed too far and has now become what I like to call the RBE unconfident. Okay, so the right brain extrovert. So these dogs are not only moving their feet, they're moving their feet as if their life depended on it because they truly believe their life depends on it. Okay, they're unconfident because that movement is based in flight, like running for your life. A picture, as I'm saying this, I can feel my chest tightening. Like I'm like, these dogs just have this, like, I have to go. I have to run. I have to get out of here. Anything to survive. That's why you'll see them actually at the end of leashes just flipping and rolling, and it's full-fledged panic. So we like to fondly call these dogs the overwhelmed runners. Like they've been overwhelmed. It's gotten too much and they're just running and running and running, right? They're skittish and scatterbrained. And so that's why, as I mentioned, I think I started to mention this in the last podcast, but I kind of went back and forth about making them like they're like the same, and just talking about it, but I didn't. I decided to split these into two categories. So just so that, for my RBs, just so you know, you can have an RBI that very quickly flips to an RBE unconfident, right? And when they do, they're running like their life depended upon it. But there are some dogs that are just bolty in general. Like they've always just, they don't ever get frozen. They just move their feet, right? These are the dogs that you scare them, they run. Someone startles them, they're going to bolt out the door. I've seen dogs like this jump out windows. Like they can literally, they lose their mind. They're certainly not thinking. They're just moving. They're running first, ask questions later. These kind of dogs. So the key to these dogs is in, again, same as the RBIs, it's in the relevance piece, believe it or not. People will say it's leadership, like you gotta, be a strong leader and a calm leader and all that stuff. It is true. But I would actually say the number one thing first is relevance, because if you don't understand their mind, your initial response is going to be to like hold tighter, pull harder, like to like contain them. That's going to be like, I got to stop you from doing this. And in the reality of it is that impression that you have, that feeling that you have to contain the overwhelmed runner is just going to make them rebel even further, because they, imagine if you could talk to them and you could say to them like, okay, you just need to stay still, like don't move, like you're fine. They're gonna feel more contained, and they're gonna push harder against it. And that lack of relevance of understanding who they are and what they're going through is what will prevent you from being the leader you need to be in that moment, right? Because yes, indeed, the key to helping these dogs is to get them to move slower, stay longer. That is the key. How you do that will make all the difference in the world. So again, similar to your right brain introvert, your sensitive stool, where I said we want to ask them to move their feet. Can you move your feet with me? The RBE unconfident, we need to ask them to stay. Ask them to hang out with us. Ask them to be for a moment with us. And it's the ask versus the tell. It's the ask versus the force. Lots of people for these dogs will do training and impulse control, training them place command and having them just stay in a spot. But if you recall what I mentioned last time about the RBIs, if you have a dog in a fearful mind and they're obedient, and you ask them through obedience to stay where they are, that anxiety starts to build within them. Now, some may argue that, you can get them to get to the other side of that through making them just get to the other side of that, like stay long enough that nothing happens, they get to the other side. But in a lot of cases, and for me, honestly, the problem with place command in these moments is that we teach them to be over there and on place command and just deal with it. We're not a part of it. And that's not what I want. That's not real leadership. So what I like to do for these guys instead is it's almost like place command, except I'm not asking you to be on a board, and I'm not asking you to stay there, and I'm not telling you to do it as a command and asking you to do it or correcting you if you don't do it, but rather asking you to stay with me. Can we just be in this moment, in this space, in this time together? This is where be with comes in really, really handy. Be with comes in really, really handy. Can we just be together in a moment and observe and be okay? And if you practice be with a lot with your dog, and you get into this state of not only just sort of being with, but being really, really present and like focusing on your breathing and seeing if you can get your breathing to be in tandem with the dog's breathing and all that stuff, it gets really, really cool, a little intense sometimes. But if you can do that, if you practice that in the presence of no triggers or no fearful things, and then start to like move outside and do be with on the go, do be with at the park, even if you have to be a gazillion feet away, but just sit and be. What you're essentially doing is you're asking them to be with and stay longer. And then you both move away from it together. See how that feels different than teaching a dog to be on place over there and just suck it up and deal with it? Right? You're not a part of it. You're not getting any leadership parts there. You're just training a dog to do a command and to get over it. And while some of them may, like some of you might get the result you want, but you won't get the bond you want, right? You're not going to get that same connected bond with a dog that you've just taught to sit over there on a place board and deal with it, right? You need to be a part of it. Now, I know that this might rub people the wrong way. And I get that, because I've gone back and forth on some of the training and whatnot. As I say, I'm not against place command, because this is going to sound like I am. I'm not against place command. I just find that for the bolters and whatnot, like if you have let me rephrase, because our next Dogonality that we're going to talk about is the RBE confident. I would do place command for an RBE confident, 100%. That would help impulse control, right? But I wouldn't do it for an RBE unconfident, right? A dog that feels like he's running for his life, I wouldn't place command a dog that feels like that, and not be there with them. I'd rather get them to go through that fear cycle. And again, this is where the relevance piece comes in. You have to understand their mind. You have to understand how dogs process fear. And for the runners, they haven't processed fear, right? The overwhelmed runner hasn't processed fear. They've just run from it, and they never get to the other side. I've often used this analogy. I use this in the program, the Fearless Framework. I use this in this program. I want you to picture, this idea of, you're walking down the street and you come to your house and the door is open, and you think to yourself, oh my gosh, I didn't leave the door open. Like, I locked that door behind me. And then your mind starts racing. You're like, someone's in the house, someone's in the house, someone's in the house, right? If you run away from your house and be like, someone's in the house, and you bolt, the next time you come to your house, you're going to go through the exact same fear cycle, because you never saw what was on the other side. You never had the opportunity to actually walk through the door and realize that your son came home early from school and he's downstairs playing the Xbox and he left the door open like a ding dong, right? If you had stayed longer and found that out, the next time you come to your house, you're not going to be scared of your house. You're going to be like, oh man, remember when my son left the door open and I thought there was a burglar in the house and we were all going to die, right? That's the whole point. So for our overwhelmed runners that are constantly just fleeing, they flee first, ask questions later. They're not even asking the questions. They're not coming back. They're not getting over their fear. They're not going through the fear cycle. So when we understand how to help them through the fear cycle, one of the biggest, the secret sauce for them is to slow them down, is to get them to stay, right? Stay longer, move closer. That's what we're looking for. Stay longer, move closer, but not do it on your own. I'm going to be here with you, not bribing you, not pulling you, not convincing you. Like, I'm going to be here. I'm going to build trust with you outside of the triggers and all of that good stuff, so that we have this incredible bond and relationship. We're going to do a lot of be with. We're going to sit and just be and stay and get through to the other side of it, to see that, oh my gosh, that thing that I was terrified of didn't kill me and I didn't die. And more importantly, I was there with this person. So for me, for the right brain extrovert that's unconfident, commanding them to just stay and deal with it isn't, in my opinion, the right move. It isn't the right move. As I say, next episode, we're going to talk about the RBE confidence, and that's a whole other ballgame. That's a whole other ballgame in itself. But for these guys, that's the ultimate goal, right? Can we slow down? And one of the things that I do for these dogs to get them to slow down is to actually, work on, can I get you to just take one step and then back up one step? Can I get you to put one paw up on this board? Can I get you to put the other paw up on this board? All of these intentionally slow moving things that I'm asking them to do is just getting them to slow down. It's slowing down their brain with movement. Right? And you're a part of it, and you make it fun. Like, you can make it fun. And if you're playing around with this and they like food, you can add some food in there too. Like, I've done that before. But that's the secret to them. That's the secret sauce, is stay longer. Can you invite them to stay longer? It's not about calming them down. It's helping them feel safe enough to stay. Right? Leadership is offering the pause, but not forcing them to sit still. Does that make sense? Listen, I hope that makes sense. And again, if you are someone that has the overwhelmed runner and you really want to get to know them at this next level, you need to be, why aren't you in the student community with us? Come over. I feel like the water's warm. Come over. Understand them at a different level, not just train them, but actually learn to understand them, how to be a part of their transformation from skittish runner to, to I don't know. I was going to say calm, cool cucumber. That doesn't make any sense. You can be cool as a cucumber. You know what I mean, right? You get to be a part of that. And it's not about training them to do it. It's about being a part of it. It really is. And that helps build the bond. So if you want that kind of connection, and let me just say this, if you're like, I really want to train them though, you can just do this work first. Build the bond and the connection first, then train them, right? Get them to slow down, get them to trust you, get them to know that they're okay if you're okay, all of that good stuff. And then do the training on top of it. It'll be a lot easier. And the bond and connection will be so much stronger. So if you're someone that has an overwhelmed runner, I am going to invite you to come and join us over in the Fearless Framework. It's an incredible community, incredible program. It's constantly improving and evolving. We're adding more and more stuff every day. Come now before July 1st, get all the bonuses and that unheard of lifetime access that as long as the program is running, you have access to it. Get to hang out with me. There's monthly Zoom calls going to be happening. It's great. You will love it. You and your dog will love it. Come on over to the Fearless Framework. You're going to go to beyondobedience.ca/fearless. Join us over there. As always, my friend, if you enjoyed this episode, please give us a 5-star written review on Apple and get out there today and be the person that your dog thinks that you are, because your dog thinks that you're amazing. And so do I. Have a fantastic day. I'll see you in the next episode for our final episode in this Dogonality series. We'll see you there. Take care. Bye. Oh, and one more thing. This podcast is meant for entertainment and education purposes only and is not meant to replace hands-on professional training. If you're really struggling with your dog, please reach out to a professional in your area. All right, I think that's it. Bye for now.